Hey guys, Tim here from Candid TV back with another projector review. So today we're taking a look at this Philips NeoPix Ultra 2 projector. Philips sent this over so I could show it to you guys. So we're going to go over how it performs, some of the specs and all that stuff coming up. So stay tuned. So this projector does have some cool features. It has a Philips onboard operating system. It's got Wi-Fi, screen mirroring, stereo speakers, Bluetooth. So some pretty cool functions there. As far as connectivity, there's a VGA in. You can use a 3.5 millimeter for audio out. You have two HDMIs, USB, and a memory card option. So there's a lot of different ways to connect and get media onto this. Talking about the picture quality is pretty good, I thought. Like I said, it says right on the box, they recommend 65-inch max screen and to use it in darker rooms. That's going to get you the best picture quality. Like I said, I did 100 inches and I used it in a dark room like that. I thought it looks pretty good. I think it looks very comparable to, other native 1080p projectors out there. You could tell it is true native 1080p. The brightness was pretty good. Again, you're not going to have great quality during daytime. This is more for a dedicated setup, like if you're going to use this in a basement, maybe you're going to use this in a man cave, something like that. But if you wait until nighttime, you can also use this as an outdoor projector. You can use this in your living room, but you're just going to want to have some blinds probably, or wait till the sun goes completely down. So you guys can see here when we're talking about the interface and everything, these are the apps that are included. You see ExpressVPN, Firefox, there's a file manager, YouTube, Prime Video, Netflix, and VLC. So that's a media player, and it does basically a lot of different types of files and stuff. Usually it covers everything you would need. So there are a lot of different options here. Let me go back and show you again. So yeah, Prime Video. So here's Firefox, for example. So you can see it's kind of cool to have these pin tiles already for you. Google search, YouTube, Fandango, Flickr, Instagram. Let's see. Let's click on YouTube here. So it's taking you to the mobile version of YouTube. And it's loading here. All right, so not too bad. You can see it's loading up some of the videos here. So it's kind of cool. It has this little icon you can see I'm moving side to side here just using the remote. And guys, as far as the other kind of controls here on the menu, you have the input source. There's your AirPlay, Miracast, your Wi-Fi settings, Bluetooth. You've also got up here your wallpaper options you can kind of cycle through and images. So those are kind of some of your quick menu options, which are pretty cool. If you click on those, they typically will take you to this menu you see down in the bottom here, and you can, change. There's Philips OS, HDMI 1 and 2, VGA, AV. Up in the top kind of menu settings here, so you have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, image settings, language settings, date settings, and app settings, system update, other settings, about. So there's a lot of different options there. And then if I hit the settings menu on the remote, that pops up there in the bottom. So that's how you kind of get into that bottom right options menu. The menus and stuff are pretty easy to use. And there's this quick one here. And then, like I said, you could always go up. And then you have some of the other quick ones here as well for like your casting and Bluetooth options as well. So like I said, it has that Philips operating system on there. So I did a little research. It's basically kind of an Android 6.0 version. And I saw Philips on Reddit kind of discussing why they went with that. They basically said that because some apps do not support landscape mode, they have, whatever apps are on there right now at the moment. So things like Disney Plus, Hulu, that kind of stuff wasn't on there, but there is, some limited apps on there, and there's no Play Store though per se. But I did read, people are putting apps on there through kind of like third party like APK. So you can do that, but I'd say for the average consumer, that's probably not something that most people know how to do. I saw Philips did say on Reddit as well that new apps will be coming soon, and they'll be pushing some more updates too. So stay tuned for those. So within that operating system, it is pretty cool though, because you can do things like change that background. There's a few different scenes you can set. You have a lot of different controls for different sound settings, and there's even like a cinema, different picture mode, things like that that you can customize. So I thought that was pretty cool. The other thing is, you can set your picture settings and change some of the things like sharpness and all that, but you can also, within that settings menu, change things like the keystone correction. So there's auto keystone correction, where it uses kind of the internal gyroscopes to actually, set it for you. and there is a manual keystone correction. It's kind of like a 4-point correction you can do, which I honestly liked that because the auto keystone correction was pretty good for me, but for my specific setup here, I actually had a little better success doing it manually. And I'd say if you're going to have a permanent setup like that, then that's what I'd recommend. But if you're going to be taking this with you, that auto keystone correction's pretty clutch, because then you can point it at a wall, you know, side of an RV, whatever you're going to be doing with it, and it should give you a pretty good picture and set it up for you. Now, speaking of that projection surface, I like that they're up front with you because it says straight up there on the box that for best picture, it says to use it in a dark environment, and it says up to a 65-inch picture. The further back you are, you know, the more light is going to scatter and things like that. So the best picture quality is going to come from probably that size or smaller. That being said, I did test this out on a 100-inch diagonal screen that I have in my setup that you're seeing here. You could do it on definitely something smaller like that and use the 65 inches they recommend. At the 100 inches, I didn't really notice too big of a problem or anything anyway. It was probably what I was used to with other projectors and similar price points and performance and everything. So I thought it was perfectly fine using it at the 100 inches. So if you do want to use it a little bit bigger, I wouldn't really worry about it. I was using it in a dark environment. I have it, you know, in a dedicated 4th bedroom kind of setup. So that worked really well for that. One of the areas I do wish I could see improve though was the Wi-Fi on the built-in projector. So it has Wi-Fi, which is a big plus. My setup is up on my 2nd level. I basically have my office and the studio on one side of the hallway, and down across the hallway, definitely within 50 to 60 feet though, is the projector setup and kind of my like media room there. So I was using that. I have my router right here in this room where I'm talking from. Back where you saw all the footage coming from with the projector screen and that's right down the hall here. So the one issue I did have was I connected it both to, you know, it's dual band Wi-Fi, so that is a plus. The 2.4G and 5G network of my internet that I have here. The one thing I ran into was that at times the internet connection was a little bit slow. So even doing some of the like firmware updates that they pushed out for this projector were hard to do because at times it was taking a very long time or the download failed. And that is something that I saw on Reddit. You know, another user also expressed that they had some issues with just the Wi-Fi connectivity. So the one thing I would recommend is either, you know, use an extender and pick one of those up if you're going to have this in a room that's a little further away from your router and that. Or otherwise, if you're going to be using it kind of in the room where like your router is, say you have it in like a living room and that's right where you have a router, then you're probably good to go. So for that reason, you do have the option, like I said, there's 2 HDMI inputs on there. You can hook up something else like a Roku player, you know, an Amazon Fire Stick, any of that kind of stuff if you don't want to use that onboard operating system. So when I did that, it was the same time, same location and everything. And the Roku Premiere that I have, you know, had no issues whatsoever streaming, you know, using my apps through there, through Hulu and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. That's another workaround if, you know, you are going to be using this where your internet connectivity is limited, you're finding you're not getting the best signal, you can always hook up something like that, and it's a relatively easy workaround. The other thing that is kind of cool is they have Miracast on here for Android, Apple AirPlay on there for your iPhones. So you can hook up other devices and you can basically stream wirelessly to this projector. With my Pixel device, and this is something I remember happened with the Philips PicoPix Micro that I tested out previously. And if you want to check that out, I'll put up here. That will pop up in that corner. That's the full review of the Micro. It did not work with my Pixel phone. They said Pixel, for whatever reason, was one of the phones that was not supported. So that Pixel phone did not work. I'm currently using a Pixel, but instead of a Pixel 2, now it's a Pixel 5. So I could not get my Pixel 5 to connect using Miracast. I downloaded an app. I tried the onboard cast option that's built into my Android interface on my phone, and neither of those works. All right, so let's talk about audio for a little bit. So the speakers are actually pretty darn good. They're 5 watts. There's 2 of them in there. So they're stereo speakers. They could definitely suffice for like a movie night. In fact, we watched a full movie on it, my wife and I, and we didn't have any issues whatsoever. My wife actually commented she thought the speakers really weren't too bad at all. And the one thing I'll say is while they're not the loudest and, you know, they don't sound the fullest, which I wouldn't expect from internal speakers, the one thing that I did notice compared to a lot of other projectors that I've tested is even at higher volumes, these did not sound tinny, and I didn't get the rattling and the distortion that I get on a lot of other budget projectors. So that was actually kind of impressive. I was able to put the volume up pretty high and there really wasn't any distortion. Now that being said, this does have Bluetooth, so you can hook up a Bluetooth speaker to it, which I'd highly recommend. I always recommend hooking up your own speaker to greatly improve your sound quality. So with this, I know that early on some people were saying they were having issues connecting Bluetooth speakers to this projector. They did put out a firmware update, and that has completely solved any issues with that. So I had no problems whatsoever setting that up. You basically can go in, like I said, there's a little menu in the bottom corner that you can go into, or you can go into the full menu, but you can basically click scan for devices. And then if you have your speaker in its pairing mode, it should pop up there. And it did for me. It was very easy to just click on that then, and I had a small little Bluetooth speaker hooked up basically in a minute. So one of the other questions I commonly get is when you're talking about audio, people want to know how loud the fan is. So again, if you're right next to it, you're going to hear the fan. I did use my decibel meter. I got 45 to 50 decibels from about 4 feet away or so. I have it set up where the projector is kind of between like our couch and our chair in that room there. But again, using an external speaker, it's not really going to be an issue. And definitely compared to other projectors, it's really not loud. So guys, the 60 Hz refresh rate is good for casual gaming as well. So like I said, there's the 2 HDMI spots on there. So if you want to hook up some other devices, you could definitely hook up like an Xbox or a PlayStation as well. And I said it's going to be native 1080p, and then you'd have that 60 Hz refresh rate. This is a projector that seems to be very in demand right now. I did that short video that you can go check out too, with just that new kind of 1 minute format, kind of showing an unboxing and stuff real quick of this. And there was a lot of interest in there. So I know a lot of you guys have been waiting on this review a little bit. So I hope this is helpful. So if you guys like videos like this, I review projectors here at Candid Tech TV. Definitely hit that subscribe button so you can see my latest videos. Leave a comment down there below with your thoughts. Thank you guys for watching with me here today, and I'll see you on the next one.